In the dim, rain-slicked streets of Blackwood, where gas lamps flickered like dying stars, young Clara unearthed her curse from the clutter of her grandmother's estate. It was a tin wind-up mouse, no bigger than her palm, with brass gears etched in intricate filigree and eyes of polished onyx that caught the light like trapped midnight. Its tail was a coiled spring, and when wound, it scampered with a mechanical skitter tick-tick-tick across the floor, whiskers twitching as if alive. Grandmother had called it Nibbles, a toy from her own childhood in the 1890s, passed down through whispers of tragedy. It keeps secrets, she'd said with a wink, but her eyes held shadows. Clara, 12 and sharp as a switchblade, dismissed the warnings. She wound Nibbles tight that first evening, the key turning with a reluctant grind, and set it loose on the Persian rug. It darted under the sofa, then re-emerged, pausing to stare up at her with those unblinking eyes. "Cute," she murmured, scooping it up. But as she placed it on her dresser, a faint whir escaped its belly, not the clockwork hum, but something organic, like a sigh from a tiny throat. Sleep came uneasy that night, the old house groaning under autumn gales. Clara dreamed of scratches faint, insistent, like nails on wood. She woke to find her bedsheets rumpled, as if something small had burrowed beneath. Nibbles sat innocently on the dresser, but its tail was uncoiled, stretched toward her pillow like a beckoning finger. Shrugging it off as a draft, she rewound it the next morning and watched it chase crumbs across the kitchen table, delighting her with its precision. Yet, when she reached for a biscuit, the mouse veered sharply, nipping at her fingertip with its blunt tin teeth. A pinprick of blood welled up. "Silly toy," she laughed, but the wound burned colder than it should. By afternoon, the house felt watchful. Clara's cat, Whiskers ironic, that hissed at shadows, for bristling whenever Nibbles was near. That evening, alone while her parents dined out, Clara wound the mouse again, this time in her room. Tick tick tick. It circled her feet, then froze, head cocked as if listening. From the walls came a rustle faint at first, then multiplying, like 100 tiny feet pattering behind the plaster. Clara knelt, peering under the bed. Nothing. But when she straightened, Nibbles was gone from the floor. Panic prickled her skin. She tore open drawers, upended the laundry basket. "Where are you?" she whispered, voice cracking. The pattering grew louder, echoing from the vents, the closet, everywhere and nowhere. Then, a skitter across her shoulder. Clara screamed, slapping at her back, but her hand closed on empty air. Laughter bubbled up from the darkness, high, mechanical, like gears grinding giggles. Tick 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 hee hee. She fled to the hallway, slamming her door, but the sound followed, a symphony of scratches now, clawing at the wood from inside. Heart pounding, Clara grabbed a flashlight and a broom, barricading herself in the guest room. There, in the beam's jittery glow, she saw them, not one mouse, but a dozen. No, dozens. Tiny shadows spilling from the floorboards, brass glints in their eyes, tails whipping like lashes. They weren't toys. They were at Nibbles, multiplied, birthed from the original's rusted heart. The first one lunged, scaling her slipper with needle claws, aiming for her ankle. Clara swung the broom, smashing it into the wall where it crumpled with a pathetic tink. But more came, a tide of tin and terror, skittering up the curtains, across the ceiling. One perched on the lampshade, its onyx eyes reflecting her terror. Play, it seemed to mouth, jaws unhinging with a click to reveal rows of filed sharp teeth. Bites followed quick, venomous nips on her calves, her arms each drawing blood that sizzled on their metal hides. Clara bolted for the stairs, the horde in pursuit, a clattering avalanche. She reached the kitchen, slamming the door, but they seeped under, through cracks she'd never noticed. Grabbing the carving knife, she hacked wildly, severing tails and heads, but for every one felled, two more emerged from the sink drain, the oven vent's grandmother's secrets, unleashed. "Why?" Clara sobbed, cornered against the fridge. A bold one climbed her leg, whispering in her ear with a voice like rusted bells, "Because the darkness needs to feed and you're next." The clock struck midnight as her parents' car pulled into the drive. They found the house eerily still, save for a faint tick-tick-tick from the parlor. Clara lay in the hall, pale and still, her body a map of tiny wounds, eyes wide and vacant, forever chasing shadows. On her chest, cradled like a pet, sat Nibbles pristine, tail coiled tight, waiting for the next hand to turn its key. The estate sale came weeks later. A collector bought the lot, including a peculiar tin mouse with onyx eyes. He wound it that night, grinning at its scamper. Tick tick tick. And in the walls of his flat, the rustling began anew.